We'll do the same format. It'll be 3 minutes, and then time for questions. We'll start with Mr. Chaikin.
Anton Chaikin. I'm a historian and the history editor for Executive Intelligence Review. President Obama has put in place a reform apparatus reviving the euthanasia of Hitler Germany in 1939 that began the genocide there. The apparatus here is to deny medical care to elderly, chronically ill, and poor people, and thus save, as the president says, $2 to $3 trillion by taking lives considered not worthy to be lived, as the Nazi doctors said. Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel and other avowed cost-cutters on this panel also lead a propaganda movement for euthanasia headquartered at the Hastings Center, of which Dr. Emanuel is a fellow. They shape public opinion and the medical profession to accept a death culture such as the Washington state law passed in November to let physicians help kill patients whose medical care is now rapidly being withdrawn in the universal health disaster. Dr. Emanuel's movement for bioethics and euthanasia and this council's purpose directly continue the eugenics movement that organized Hitler's killing of patients and then other costly and supposedly unworthy people. Dr. Emanuel wrote last October 12th that a crisis, war, and financial collapse would get the frightened public to accept the program. Hitler told Dr. Brandt in 1935 that the euthanasia program would have to wait until the war began to get the public to go along. Dr. Emanuel wrote last year that the Hippocratic Oath should be junked. Doctors should no longer just serve the needs of the patient. Hoche and Binding, the German eugenicists, exactly said the same thing to start the killing. You on the council are drawing up the procedures list to be used to deny care, which will kill millions if it goes ahead in the present world crash. You think, perhaps, the backing of powerful men, financiers, will shield you from accountability, but you are now in the spotlight. Disband this council and reverse the whole course of this Nazi revival now. Thank you.
Movies and shows ran better on DirecTV just because I was paying more for them.
Quick break. I'm going to ask for questions and comments. Ms. Zuckerman, if you can come up, and I'm opening it up for the panel. Yes, we're still going to, Ms. Williams, you're still going to get to talk. I'm going to ask Ms. Zuckerman to come up and join you. We're going to take a quick stop in the panel to open it up for comments or questions, because we have a few folks who have to potentially go. The whole transcript will be available, though, and all comments will be shared with all council members. I apologize that I have to go back to an important meeting. I do want to just clarify one thing about my own, since my reputation has been besmirched here, is I think I do have a very long record of writing against the legalization of euthanasia. So the association of me and that seemed a little strange, given, I don't know, at least 30 years or 25 years of writing on the topic against the legalization. So just to clarify the record for everyone in the room. Thank you.
It says, as usual, they run when they are confronted with the truth. That's Ezekiel Emanuel, the brother of Rom Emanuel.
Sir, it's not your statement was read into the record. It's not a time for debate, but we appreciate your comments. And we apologize for the break.
Look at the weasel.
Panel, but we just wanted to have that break.
And now to report in this morning's Washington Post that the Obama administration is considering implementing a new fall vaccination program against the flu, a plan that would require Americans to get not one, not two, but 3 flu shots. Dr. Nancy Snyderman is NBC's chief medical editor. Nancy, good morning.
Hi, Meredith.
Unprecedented this is. How would this work?
Well, here's the idea. On the first Saturday when we knew swine flu was an issue, the Centers for Disease Control held a conference, and we were already talking, with those of us who listened in, about how you're going to ramp up manufacturing this new vaccine on top of the old vaccine.
It takes a lot of time.
Right.
About 5 months ago.
And the decision was made, if we're going to get the normal flu vaccine to the general public in the fall, to hold it up while we figure out the swine flu flu was perhaps going to put the entire population at risk. So at that moment, the decision was made, we would go to normal flu production for the normal vaccine, like it is. Figure out for seasonal flu. Figure out what the swine flu really is, and then perhaps tag team a second vaccine on top of it.
Okay, so that's why they didn't combine them into one shot, but why 2 additional shots for swine flu?
For the normal seasonal flu that you and I talk about every year, there's a herd immunity to some extent, so you only need 1 shot. The new strain we've never seen before, so that requires sort of thinking like when we give our babies or their first shot. You get your shot, it boosts up your immune system, and then you need a booster. So for the new H1N1 swine flu, for which there's no known immunity in our population, that requires 2 shots.
I would think, because it's hard to get people to take the original.
As we know, don't we, since you don't get your flu shot in the fall.
I don't. Okay. I might this year, though.
Good.
But now you're asking people to get 3. That's a tough sell.
Well, Meredith, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is going to be a public relations, trust your government and your health officials, public campaign. Mark my words, you and I are going to be talking about this a lot between now and fall. So I think what the government is likely going to do is urge people to early on get their normal flu shot and then trust the scientists to say the swine flu is for real, get these other 2. Now, we've yet to hear the clear, concise direction from the government, so I don't think we should jump on the bandwagon before we hear what the recommendation is. But if they do believe that this swine flu could be a real uptick in severity, you're going to see a massive public education campaign.
But we trusted the scientists back in 1976 with the original swine flu shot, and a lot of people got sick.
Right. Not only that, some people died, some people were paralyzed.
The shot itself.
And people remember the swine flu vaccine as a terrible disaster. This government, these manufacturers want to make sure that does not happen again. But you bring up a very important point. Just because something works doesn't mean it's safe. And that rush to market is going to mean that we're going to have to prove that, yes, it will keep people from getting sick, and that the shot itself won't hurt anybody. More on this, I'm sure.